Hello, all you Facebook people out there, and welcome to our in-store visitors. And we are here to share some great information with you at the Yoder's Department Store birthday celebration. Blah, blah, blah. That's a whole lot, isn't it? And my bestest buddy is with me. My helper today is none other than Mrs. Meredith Yoder. So between the two of us, we're going to try to wow them with our brilliance, aren't we, Meredith? Well, we're going to do our level best. Now, here's the thing. For those of you who haven't visited Yoder's Department Store and haven't had the pleasure of being in the store, Cotton Corner is a division of that is a full-service Bernina store, carries mostly boutique fabrics and tula pink and embroidery and that sort of thing. And Yoder's is a wide variety of stores that I don't know. I say what I tell everybody is if they don't have it, y'all probably don't need it, because they do have a little bit of everything. And we'll touch on that in a little bit. But our job in this segment is we've talked about the blocks and piecing and stuff. And Meredith and I both are old not necessarily old, but long time. That's a better word, isn't it? We're long time Bernina dealers ourselves and had quilt shops for many, many years. Both of us were in the same division, and we were good. We were actually good buddies. We really were, but she beat me most of the time, which I'm still not over, and that's been 20 years. I'm still not over that. But one of the things that I think people lose sight of is how wide a surface that these two stores bring to the consumers, and what a great shopping opportunity you have when you come here, notwithstanding the fact that the township Shawana is delightful all by itself, and the peanut butter is the best stuff in the world, and they have some donuts that I'm telling you folks, they're very addictive, so you might want to be careful about that. So what we're going to share with you from things we've talked about earlier is what we think is some of the best methods, not the only methods, but the best methods to do your cutting. So what Meredith and I are going to share with you is we're both big fans of AccuQuilt. I think you said you used it for making a lot of when you need multiple units.
Yes, I have. I've used it a lot.
And for our people that are in the store with us, they have the catalog. So as you visit your local dealer, you'll want to make sure you look at an AccuQuilt catalog. And what we're going to do is cover it first, because in our last segment, and if you missed our last live segment, one of the things, and Meredith's going to hold this is a little quilt top that we showed that we are kitting. Well, Yoder's is kitting. And what it gave us the opportunity was to talk about the different dyes we could use if we were using AccuQuilt, or the different rulers we would use if we didn't own AccuQuilt. So the way and how many of you in front of us, how many of you own AccuQuilt? And what do you own? What's your die size? What cube do you own? No, what cube? If you're cutting triangles and squares, do you have a cube?
No, I did never buy any cubes.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And so you have the separate things that would cut half squares and quarter squares and things. Perfect. And
I got the 8-inch cube when I bought mine.
she bought the package that came with the 8-inch cube, which is what we're working with today. This whole thing you could do with what you bought. So let's address it from an AccuQuilt standpoint. When we look at an element like this is the unit that we call our spiky unit. So if I own an AccuQuilt, those two spiky guys right there is die 14 on your AccuQuilt. Now forget what size cube you own. That's the die number that will cut that shape. So if you own a 6-inch cube, you'll get one size of this. If you own an 8, you'll get another size, and on it goes. But the element number remains the same. So these spikes will always be die 14 in your catalog. So if you look through where you have cubes and it gives you a size of a cube, then you're going to be able to see beside that die 14. So you would need a die 14, and then for the little guy in the middle, you would need a die 13. So 13 and 14, cut those. And then I'm going to address in a second how you would know what size you were going to get depending on that. I'll address that in a second. So to make this whole block, I only need die 13 and 14, and these little squares are all die 2. So we've got those. While Meredith's holding that, let me show you these. Here's our 14. Here's our 13. And here's our 2. So if I owned these dies, I could make 500 of those blocks in a flash, because these 3 things make this entire block. Now I can make a quilt that size if I wanted to make a batch of these blocks. So if I own these, and we'll talk to you in a little bit about how you calculate and stuff, but I want to just show you my choices, because this is a pattern that Yoder's has kitted, and we're going to show you. We've made 3 different kits. This is the same one as the Sapphire Blossoms fabric line. It's $20.98 for the kit that comes with the pattern. But do not buy it unless you own either the AccuQuilt dies or the rulers, because that's the only way it's written. It's not written traditional, it's written for promotion of the product. So just be sure that you go, well, how about that? Now, what size? You can't cut this unit. It's a template. It's a template if you don't have those elements. Now, if I said, oh, I don't have that, I have rulers. Well, okay, here I'm going to put up, this is the half rectangle, which is the same thing. And if I do this, it's a little easier, I think, for the camera to see it. The half rectangle is the same thing as die 14. So if you keep your catalog in front of you, you can compare shapes, and these are numbers that will almost be like 1, 2, 3 after you play for a while. Don't you find that? So this is die number 14 does what the half rectangle ruler does. Okay? Then die 13 does what the bias triangle ruler does. Now, all of these things live on, if you're visiting us from Facebook and you did, the keyword is AccuQuilt, and that will take you to every element we are talking about on the web. And for those of you who are in the store and you decide to go back home and look for this, this is where you're going to find it, under that keyword. So this would be my die 13. And then any square I've got would cut my 2-inch squares, 2.5 cut, 2-inch finished. But here's what this offers that I can't get with AccuQuilt. This side set triangle is the unit that is, anytime a quilt is set on point, like the side sets of a block like that, it's what fills in this gap. What the ruler offers, and this might be what I think is the most valuable tool in the line, regardless of what else you own, is the side set triangle. And what it is a tool that cuts all of these for any size block from 3 inches up to 12 finished. So if you have a finished 10-inch block, finished 11-inch block, finished 12-inch block, this guy cuts both the side and the corners. And it comes out of one size strip. Now, if you look, this is a directional fabric that Meredith is showing you here. If you cut this traditional, you would have to have cut a square, and you would have had to cross-cut it twice or 4 times, depending on whether it's a corner or a side. And you can't keep direct, let's say it's a chicken. I mean, I like chicken. You can't keep the orientation, but the way, what this ruler does is keeps the orientation running in the same direction. So if I'm working with a toile or a scenic, this is my best friend. And it is also the tool I always go to when I have to true up corners, because you see the diagonal lines on this? See how they sit right in those pink lines? Then I rarely do what I call clean up, because I think it's akin to mess up. So if you had to clean up, you must have messed up. So I don't like to mess up to do clean up. There are actually tools out there that are called square up.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not bad-mouthing anybody, so don't anybody online send me some kind of hate mail saying, I can't believe you said that. I'm just saying it assumes you didn't know what you were doing, so we're going to help you fix it. I'm assuming I'm going to do it right the first time. But when it comes to diagonal sets, I don't know if you do, but I always overcut. And this is the only tool that doesn't cut exact. It will give you a little float, which is the ability to set on point and keep your units square. It is one of the most expensive in the line, but I am here to tell you every quilt I make uses this tool in some fashion. So those are the options you would have in making this. Now, before we get to what else AccuQuilt does, let's show them we got all clever. Well, actually, Meredith got all clever, and Linda got all clever. And we said, why don't we give you 3 choices on your kits? So here's the Tula Pink. Now, is that just the standard batik line you pulled on that one? I can't remember. So she just pulled, could be Christmas, could be whatever you wanted it. So these will be, we thought, I don't know what was silly enough for us to think we'd get this sewn, but we thought for sure we'd have time to sew it. Well, we didn't. So we cut 2 of everything, and we cut them on the AccuQuilt. We cut them right here, and it can't be a minute a block. It just can't be. That's how quick they cut. But I cut mine on that one with the ruler. So it's the same finished results, and then this is the Tula Pink fabric, and we do have a side set fabric for that. We just haven't got it pulled out here. But we just wanted to show you that you can get the Tula Pink kit, you can get the red green kit, or you can get this one. And so you would need, if you're watching and you go to that line, you go, I'm confused, ask the question. Just ask the question and someone will answer it. And then the store here, they're cutting as we speak on these. So we should have those available, well, probably any minute now. You think? Something like that. So, all right, we're going to set that one down. And then I want to show you one more thing on the rulers. And then we're going to show you some other fun things with AccuQuilt. The best buy, if you are just deciding that you want to add rulers to your collection, there's a starter pack that the company offers, and this is again an item that is available on Facebook, on the website, and in the store as well. It includes the 2 rulers I just talked to you about, the half rectangle and the bias triangle. It includes the half square triangle and the quarter square triangle, which makes flying geese in all sizes from 0 to 8. It would make your finished elements. It also has a 7x14, which I call a strip cutter, which is what pre-cuts your strips or works with those. An 11-inch square, and also included is a 90-minute DVD we did that tells you about everything that you can do with those and how to do it. So that is a kit that is also available from Yoder's as well. It's in Cotton Corner and Yoder's. We have it both places on that. And before we show you some other clever, have we got questions on anything to this point? We always like to know questions. What about?
Did you say that set came with the big one also?
It does not come with the side. The side set is such a specialty tool that if we debated on including it, but the price point changes dramatically. And this is a standalone. They have them in the store. You can also get them on the website. So they do have those to take with you today. All of these that we're just talking about on the rulers, and the dies mostly as well. But of those of you who own AccuQuilt, how many of you have worked with the dies that are like leaves and birds and chickens and things? Anybody? Let me ask you this. Do any of you scrapbook? Do any of you do any paper crafting at all? I'm so surprised. When I ask a group of sewers that, I usually get 75% of them work with, because we're addicted to owning stuff. And all that shiny stuff that's got all that stuff going, I must have 17,000 12-inch by 12-inch squares of paper. And I showed Meredith, I got carried away with, let's show them the 3 dies. They have 3 dies here. If you're an AccuQuilt user and you have any size of the cutter, will do these. They've got the pumpkins. There's pumpkins and leaves. Then there's birds, and then the Christmas one. These are my 3 favorite dies. Now, I think you're out of the pumpkin. We did those, but they can order these for you. And so for those of you who are just like, I don't know if I want to work with fabric today, we did a passel of these with paper. Now, I can do this with fabric and if I do it with fabric, then what I would end up doing is fusing that fabric with a Wonder Under or something, then cut it out. Now I could have a placemat that you purchased, and I could put a pumpkin on it. So I could just go buy myself an orange fabric, something that looked like a pumpkin, and I love doing cards. So I just get bored. Well, Lord knows we've had time. I mean, we should have been able to send everybody we know a card, but look at this this is the Christmas tree. Could have done that out of fabric. I could have cut it out of fabric and glued it to a card. And people, I think the whole world has stopped sending thank you notes and quit writing cards. I'm telling you the truth that I just think we need to go back and remember why we learned to write, don't you? And I still love it. I love it when I get something from a friend that they have taken the time to do it. And that's what these little things are. And then we started playing with. If you've got grandkids, and Lord knows if you're homeschooled and they're bored to death, wouldn't this be, I think this would be so much fun to cut out your snowflakes and then just make like a little banner or something with snowflakes and things. What are you looking at?
I just want you to know I hand wrote you a note.
Oh, but you just put my name on. There has to be a clever thing on the back. That's something like, we just love you and I miss you. Oh, did you?
It's actually a whole.
Did you? I'm so happy. Is there a check in there too? Oh, okay, I'll just check. I love it. But I mean, because Meredith is a painter. But see, being a painter, honestly, these are things that you should be able to just play with. What I think makes AccuQuilt so valuable is, and they have a whole series. They have spoons and forks and elephants and butterflies and I mean everything over and above what we love as quilters is the basic squares and triangles. But I think these are just, and we'll pass, if you want to look at these, we'll leave them up here and you're welcome to come and take a look at them. Let's show them those two, where's the two quilts? Well, let me ask a question. How many of you have made a dimensional flying geese unit? Do you know what I'm talking about? You know what a flying geese unit is. One of the things, years and years and years ago, Mary Ellen Hopkins was a good friend of mine, and Mary Ellen is the first person that I know that ever got this in print. And it's where, you have the quarter square triangle and the two squares on the side of a flying geese. It's like this. But in this case, the goose is loose. And I didn't make that up. That's my friend Mary Ellen. She said, oh my goodness, it's a loose goose. Well, we called it a dimensional 3D, a 3D goose, but she called it a loose goose. And we're going to share the deal of the century for you is, I did a book years and years ago, and it's some of the best work I think I've ever done, and it was about the history of textiles from Africa and that sort of thing. This quilt lives in the book, and Meredith, let's hold it. You can walk out in front of me, and that's fine. This, I just started out for grins doing this and then made it. Now, I can do this with my square, it's a square and a rectangle is what makes it. Two squares and a rectangle. But I was playing the other day, and Meredith and I were talking about this, and I went, wait. Now, Meredith, I'm going to come out with you. Brian, we're going to mess you up here. I'm going to come around. That's our cameraman, Brian. Okay. For those of you watching, if you watched yesterday, we apologize because we lost all this yesterday, but we found it yesterday afternoon. So here's what the little fellow looks like when he's sewn. But he's sewn this way. You with me? Now I'm going to pass these out. I'm going to pass them around. So I'm sorry, those of you on camera, I can't pass you one. Okay, there. Now, I made one when I was, and your arms will fall apart, so just take it there. Whew, look. She's probably a painter. She's really good. So here, you may have to sew and hold. Here's what makes the goose, right here. That's what makes this. Now, you don't need to own anything special, but let me just tell you, cut two squares in a rectangle and you got her. So, but here's what I never thought of. When you look at your dies, die 2 is a square, and die or die-8, die rectangle, that's a new word. Die-8 is the height of the square, but the width of the square is doubled. So it's going to finish, the square is going to finish 2, the rectangle is going to finish 2 by 4. Cut the square 2.5, cut the rectangle 2.5 by 4.5. You with me? Say yes. Okay, good. Now here's how you make it. This is real technical, folks, so watch close. And it's written in, if you buy the book, let me tell you about the book. The book, we sold thousands at $27.95. This pattern is in the book and exactly how to do this. But you don't have to buy the book, but it'd make me happy if you did. And it'd probably make Yoder's happy too. And the book was $27.95. We have it for $10. $10, and you can take her home with you. And for those of you out there in Facebook land, you know what to do. Go hunt that number, and you can buy it right there. So I take my 2 rectangles, and I have taught this for 25 years probably, and I never change this language. Well, unless I forget, then I do. What I tell people to do, and let me fold it so I can show you, is fold your rectangle in half, and this is all written, wrong sides together, and then sandwich the rectangle between the 2 squares, all right sides touching. As I tell you, I'm vegetarian, so this is a grilled cheese. So if you were sandwiching a piece of cheese between 2 slices of bread, all the raw edges are even down here, and you can now sew on the left or the right. So it doesn't make any difference which side you sew on. Once you open that, you pull that back down, and there's your goose. Got it? You're supposed to go, oh! Okay. Now, here's what I love about, I had never thought of, these are 2x4 rectangles. I mean, these are 2x4 finished flying geese units. If I had had my 8-inch cube with me, I could have used die 2 for the square. I could use die 8 for the, there's 400,000 of those. Or about. I mean, and if you guys hold this quilt, you'll be stunned at how heavy this is. It's because it's triple the amount of fabric you would normally have in a block. I could make this same quilt with die 5 and die 2, but they'd be sewn as a pure flying geese unit. But by making them dimensional, you really change it. You mentioned, didn't you think it would be great in flannel? I think you know, if you're using AccuQuilt, you can't cut as many layers with flannel, of course. You've got to shorten it. We can cut 6 layers of a basic cotton and or batik. I don't have any problem. So that is one of the quilts that's in the book, and there's a whole batch of stuff. We'll let you look at that. And then the other quilt, while Meredith is standing there doing such a great job, I love this kind of work. And this, again, if you've got your AccuQuilt pattern in front of you, this is nothing but die 1 and die 4. The entire quilt is die 1 and die 4. So you tell me I own this size cube. Well, yours is going to be different than her size cube. So if you didn't, you have to know how to cut quarter square triangles, and the ruler that's in that kit, for example, would cut the quarter square triangle in any size you wanted it to be. And this block right here is the Ohio Star block, but I didn't piece it like I mean, it's randomly done. I didn't do this with AccuQuilt because this was years ago, but how quick would that be to make with scraps if you owned either your square ruler and your quarter square and or your dies? And I'm going to run over to the board, Brian, and I'm going to move that thing. And Meredith can pass those around if you want to. Meredith, for the people in the audience, I want to draw something real quick and show you, oh my goodness, we've tied that together. That's pretty good. I want to show you why something about AccuQuilt. Who told me they own an 8-inch cube? And does anybody else own a cube that's in the group? Here's how now you guys have a catalog and you didn't get one. Honey, would you like a catalog? Meredith's coming around with one. Here's what's so neat is if you go to the cubes, isn't it heavy? A lot of people don't get this, and let me show you. This is so important that you guys know this. If you buy AccuQuilt cube, every cube is based on what I consider 4-patch math. Now, a lot of people still struggle with getting that in mind. So bear with me here and take a peek at this. If she owns an 8-inch cube, that tells me that these guys are each going to be 4, because a 4-patch, 2 of those together equals 8. If I owned a 6-inch cube, those would be, and if I owned a 9, exactly. And then here's the other part. This is always going to be half of that. So when I buy a cube, if it's 8, I'm always going to get something that's a 4, and I'm always going to get something that's a 2. You with me? So you don't buy an 8-inch cube to make an 8-inch block necessarily. You buy an 8-inch cube to be able to do things that are 2s or 4s. You buy a 6-inch cube to be 1.5s or 3s. So you start looking at a block, and like the one that Meredith held up, that's just the Ohio Star block. That's just a 3-patch block. So there's 3 elements that make up that block. Your block's going to be one size with a 6-inch cube and blah, 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 blah. So here's why and it took me, I don't know how long it did you, but I worked with this 6 months or a year before all this really gelled in my head of why the value of the AccuQuilt is so important, and yet I can't minimize the value of rulers because I can't do everything with AccuQuilt. So they play as sisters, and it's not like one is better than the other. And like Meredith and I were talking, if you need a Julian or something, it's a no-brainer where I'm going. And I just will want the size I have a cube of. I just don't want something that doesn't make any sense because it just seems to be too much work. So what I get is when your die one, if you're looking any one of your dies in there where it says you buy a 6-inch or an 8 or a 10, die one is always going to be half of the die. So if it's an 8-inch cube, one is always going to be a 4. If it's a 6-inch cube, it's always going to be a 3. You with me? Die 2 is always going to be this guy because he's half of it. So die 1 is the big guy, die 2 is the little guy. You go? Die 3 is the big triangle, and die 5 is the little triangle. Now that never changes, and that's why that catalog is so important, because you can run down that chart and decide what you want, and you can see all of that as it lives there. So the basic cube has dies 1 through 8. So 1 is the big square, 2 is the little square, 3 is the big triangle, 4 is the square in a square. So 4 is this guy right here that always fits that guy. His corners will always be 5. You with me? And then 6 oh wait, let me see if I can figure. God, I'm telling you the truth. I don't know about you and this getting old crap. Somebody tell me what 6 is. Y'all are looking at it. This is a test.
Square on point.
Oh, I lied. That's a 6. No, is it? Oh, 4's this. Sorry. 4 is that. My bad. There. 4 is your quarter square triangle. 6 is your square in a square. See, I was trying to do it, but well, anyway, that's what happens when folks try to do it on the fly, and you need to look at your book. Then your 7. What's 7?
Parallelogram.
And that thing, I'm telling you, I love the 7 because what it is a parallelogram, which we typically do like this. When you need one of those, almost everybody makes it with 2 flying geese. I mean, 2 half square triangles, because you can, but the parallelogram lets you dump that line and put 2 5s on there. So everything, you could make quilts for the next 40 years with one, truly, with one set. And if by certain, and then it comes with a bajillion. I mean, when you buy one of the components like that, you also can get the book that breaks it down with all the different choices that you can do. Then the go-withs, all those little add-on guys are like here, and Meredith pulled this. This is a companion set that has the 13 and the 14 in it. So you can buy sets that include this, then you can add these as well. So all of those things end up being something that it's just where do you collect and where do you start and where do you
buy
start?
the machine and you have your kids buy the
For
templates
birthday or
for
Christmas.
birthday and Christmas and
Well, they do have some deals
Yeah.
going on. So for any of you that are local, and I don't know, are you guys doing this online as well? Can they buy this package online? Yes. And there is a $90 off on the large cutter at this point. But if you're local, we would say come in. If you're looking online, you can find loads and loads of information or call the store and they can give you the prices. And when we finish, for those of you who are in front of us, if we can go over in detail any of this, we are happy to. Now, do you have any questions on anything we've said so far? Yes, ma'am. Let's take a first one.
Just talking your personal preference. If you were only going to buy one size cube, what would you buy?
Well, this is interesting. Let's do a little I know exactly what I would buy. My first cube buy would be an 8. And I will tell you why. Would it be yours as well? The reason is its components are 2s and 4s. 90% of the patchwork blocks, let's say it's a 3-patch or a 9-patch block, it's a 4, 8, 12. Almost all your tic-tac-toe blocks are based off of a grid that lets me use my 4. If I'm making a star, which is a 4-patch, it's 2, 4, 6, 8. So the math that works with it. But what's your second buy? What was your second one?
Oh, I'd probably go lower.
The 6. See, the 8 is my number one favorite, but I hesitated on the 6, but I'm telling you, I love the 6 because it's got all those little 1.5s. Well, I just love those. When you hate cut, the tinier it gets, the more difficult it becomes to cut angles. It really is. And especially you can't cut, if you think you're going to stack 6 strips and cut them with a ruler, you're crazy. Because what's going to happen, everything on the bottom is going to shift. And the question was, which would be my favorite cube? Meredith and I both say the 8, but that doesn't minimize the value of the 9, 10, or 12. It's just that's the one that I tend to go to my 8 more, but I've used the 6 a lot. And your question was?
What all comes in the cube? Is it
Those 8 dies that I just told you. Start die 1 through 8, looking at your catalog, and again online, you guys can look on there. The catalogs are online as well. Die 1 through 8 lives in every cube. Then the go-withs are the same in the sister cubes, like the companion and the angle cubes. Those are all, and the value, the store, I mean, the girls here in the store can talk to you. And again, you can call the store for a little more information if you need more pricing or something, but that's what comes in the cube itself. There are some deals where you buy the cutter and you get a cube. And I think some of you, is that how you, who owns it? That's how you got yours. So the 8-inch cube, I think, comes a lot, doesn't it, with the one-go cutter. So you can get deals, you know, like that. But a lot of times we'll get customers that ask questions about why is this price this. Bernina sewing machine also limits the number. I mean, you can't make up your own price as a retailer, nor can you with AccuQuilt. So it's not like you can go over to another store and they're going to make you a better deal. They better not, because this is price protected product. So that's one of the things that I think makes it that you find your dealer that gives you some education and help on it. Now, the biggest thing, to be able to find this much selection on AccuQuilt, I will tell you, this is not what you'll find in every store that does sell AccuQuilt. And also, if you're lucky enough to be a customer of this store, and you're here, it's how much the staff knows about the product, how much they're able to assist you with what happens if I want this, as opposed to just buying it and getting it in a box. And we had yesterday, remember in the talk, we had ladies who'd bought it, and it was in a box, and they'd never taken it out of the box. Well, because they didn't get education. So just because you buy it doesn't mean it's the smartest. And you're not supposed to get it at a different price either, because it's price protected. There's a UMRP code that they cannot price below legally. So that's another thing. Now, how many of you guys know the name Tula Pink? Well, everybody, let me tell you, we got the funniest story, and we're going to make Brian kind of segue over. Remember the Tula Pink? You go there and be Vanna. Oh, come on, be Vanna. We thought it would be kind of fun. Now, let me clarify, and Meredith's going to be Vanna while we clarify this little display. Bernina cannot advertise a price other than suggested retail, MSRP, suggested retail online. But what we wanted to share with you is this being an exclusive Bernina dealer at the Cotton Corner, they have probably what I would be willing to bet you is about the only 770 Tula Pinks left in the industry. So, because this was an earlier model, and for those of you who are local, you know that the festival, or maybe even online, that the festival was canceled, and this would have been items that they would have had. So, it comes with a lot of great fun stuff, and I mean, it's got its luggage, it's got this, it's got all the Tula signature things, but then, now this is too funny. Look at those boots, hold one of those boots up. I found those in Yoder's department store yesterday. Now, let me tell you, folks, you can buy a sewing machine. I don't know about y'all, but I'm dying to have those boots. I mean, I really want, and they have Tula Pink's name all over them. For those of you who know her, she looks like, okay, Tula Pink, if you're out there, you need these shoes because this is Tula Pink's fabric that she designed. Look at the mask and the purse. Look at this. And we found the shoes, and I think, did Brooke put that little display? Somebody put the little display together with some of the Tula fabrics. Now, here's the deal. If you're around here and you come in and you say, I want that Tula Pink 770 sewing machine, you're going to get a pair of boots, folks, because we talked Andre into adding the boots in the deal, and they're $100 and some boots. Now, that is while supply lasts on the boots and while supplies last on the sewing. These cannot get these anymore. So that's it on that. But I am telling you, I think we all ought to get a pair of, I mean, don't you, Shayla, don't you want those boots? So if this is, we just thought this would be fun. And I also think that people lose sight of the fact that there's such a wide variety of merchandise in these stores that, I mean, Yoder's has one of the best shoe departments I have been in 10 states. I'm telling you. And people go, well, I thought they just sold fabric. And the shoe department is worth the trip all by itself, notwithstanding. Yes, and the clothes. And I want a pink sock monkey. Do you see them? They have pink sock monkeys. I want one of those. I have a brown one, but I don't have a pink one. I want a pink one really bad. Hint, hint, hint. I want a pink one really bad. Instead of a card, I'd like a pink monkey in there, okay? So, okay. Do we have questions? Is there anybody online that's even brave enough to ask a question after this presentation? We can't price. Bernina, the MSRP on it is, Linda? What's the MSRP on the 770? Oh, look at there. That's the MSRP. That is all legally they can quote. But if you are around here, because the MSRP is the price that the company requires they quote. But there's a bajillion extra stuff that's coming with it that makes it such a great deal. And again, because of the way Bernina is structured, we just want to be clear that we're doing this the way we should be doing it. But what we thought was so much fun, because they are a Tula, do all of Tula's patterns and fabrics and books and all of that stuff. And we thought the boots surely were Tula designs. They're not. I can't remember the company, but they're fabulous boots. I think we all ought to get us a pair. And then the machine is truly, this little guy is one, it is one of the finest machines. And that comes with embroidery module, loads of other stuff. It also comes with Tula exclusive designs on the embroidery and that sort of thing. So any other questions online that we're burning? Shayla, any other questions? Anybody here got another question? Because we got to get ready for a trunk show. Well, Meredith, do you have 2 cents or a quarter you want to put in?
I think it's been great.
We hope you enjoy it. We know that we can't in 15, 20, or 30 minutes give you all the information you need to be able to successfully cut either method. We know that because it's deeper than that. But what the goal is in this shorter time is just try to give you a little hint on what is available for you. Yes, there's a lot of different brands, but I will tell you in singing the praises of the Good Measure brand, which is the rulers I shared with you, it is the only ruler in the industry that a percentage of the profits goes to breast cancer research. That's huge for me. It has 2 color lines, a pink and a green. All of the 1/4 inch lines on this brand are pink and all the whole lines are green. And that is another thing that is hugely important for me. And it is also only about 1 or 2 rulers in the industry have sight lines. And if you go on our website on kayeengland.com, we have videos on every one of these of why this tool, why it's so important that you see where to cut. Because a lot of rulers that have a north-south line, it's a solid line. If it's a solid line, you have to choose cutting on the left or the right side. Both of those are wrong. The only correct line on a ruler is the middle. Well, if you got a fat line running down through it, you can only see the left or the right side. So the accuracy factor is the drive for me. Not the name, not the color, not anything. Is it accurate? And let me tell you that engineer tested, there's fewer than 3 lines in the industry that test accurate. So if you're struggling with getting an accurate 1/4 inch seam, don't blame yourself, check your ruler. Because truly, it is one of the biggest issues that we encounter, which is why the company does the little small kits, tries to keep a small collection so it doesn't break the bank. I think we go, is it cake and ice cream time? Is it a giveaway time? Is it giveaway time? Did you forget? All right, all right, well, Andre, she forgot. Let's give away. We'll just do the giveaway and you'll announce it on Facebook, right? She's going to announce it on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. We're going to hang around if you have questions. Bye-bye, Facebook world. Bye-bye.